On this example, we're going to find all the zeros of this function. Now remember, the highest power is 3, so we could have 3 different zeros, 3 or less, okay? So using the rational zero theorem, we are going to list all the factors of 6. That would be plus or minus 1 times plus or minus 6. Oops, I keep hitting the button, sorry. And then in between that would be plus or minus 2 times plus or minus 3. Now we have them all listed. Now we're going to put that over all the factors of the leading coefficient, which is 1. So that's just plus or minus 1. Okay, so 1 over 1 is equal to 1. So plus or minus 1. 2 over 1 is equal to 2, plus or minus 2. 3 over 1 is equal to 3, plus or minus 3. 6 over 1 is equal to 6, plus or minus 6. So I have 8 different numbers to try using synthetic division. I can try positive 1, negative 1, positive 2, negative 2, positive 3, negative 3, positive 6, negative 6. Now, we don't have to use Descartes' rule of signs, but we can. If we do a quick, look at Descartes' rule of signs, it tells us that we could have 1 possible positive and either 2 or 0 possible negatives. So I'm going to go with the odds, and I'm going to start by trying a negative. Okay, so I'm just going to pick negative 1. I'm going to see if negative 1 will go in this evenly. Okay, so remember, we put negative 1 out here, and then we put our coefficients 1x cubed, 2x squared, negative 5x, and then a negative 6. Remember, you have to have all of the exponents represented. It has to go 3, 2, 1, none. So start at your highest. If you're missing something, like if our 5x was missing, I would put a 0 here. Okay? So now, let's use synthetic division. So we are going to drop down this 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. I did negative 1 times 1 here. Negative 1. Negative 5. Negative 1 adds to negative 6. Negative 1 times negative 6 is a positive 6, and we end up with 0. So we got really lucky. I don't usually get that lucky. So since we got 0 on the end, we know that this is a factor. So remember, you drop down 1. If you start with x cubed, this is going to become x squared. This will become x. So let's write this again as factors. When I put this back with the x, that would be x minus 1, or excuse me, x plus 1. When we put it back with the x, we change the sign. This would be 1x squared plus x minus 6. Okay, so now these aren't the zeros, these are the factors. I just turned it back into factors. This turned into x plus 1. It became x squared plus x minus 6. Now this you should be able to factor in your head if they're real zeros, okay? Not imaginary, but we're not going to have to use quadratic formula. This will factor. So I'm going to say x plus 1. And this factors into x plus 3 times x minus 2. Now if they ask me for the factors, I'm done. These would be called the factors. They ask for the zeros. So what I'm going to have to do is come over here and set all of these equal to 0. So I'm going to say x plus 1 equals 0. And x plus 3 equals 0. And x minus 2 equals 0. So when I subtract 1 from both sides, I get x equals negative 1. Subtract 3, you get x equals negative 3. Add your 2, you get x equals positive 2. So these would be the 3 roots to this equation.